Hello, everyone, and welcome to D2C Dialogues. Today, we have with us Siddharth Gondal, co founder of XYXX Apparels. Their LinkedIn profile goes like this: XYXX is a leading men's premium lifestyle brand that specializes in underwear, loungewear, and athleisure, made from distinctly premium fabrics and gives them a fashionably well designed edge using cool colors, quirky prints, and stellar designs for the discerning Indian man. With its innovation driven product play, XYXX focuses on technological prowess to deliver exceptional quality, hyper functionality, as well as affordability. XYXX products are available on the web uh, and consistently rank among the top three in most product categories on 14 plus leading e-commerce marketplaces, including Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, and Ajio. XYXS has a robust pan-India presence with over 18,000 touch points through top MBOs alongside a strong modern trade presence, as well as EBOs in multiple key cities, including Mumbai and Indore. With this, I would like to welcome Siddharth to D2C Dialogues. Welcome, Siddharth.
Hi, Dr. Bhatt. Nice to meet you.
So the first question that comes in my mind, why XYXX? The name itself is unique, very unique. But
Yeah.
what made you come up with the XYXX name?
Wow. So usually the first question that we always encounter, and so I think there were clear two thoughts behind this name, right? So when we were starting off, we wanted to disrupt the innerwear space in India, right? And that too initially focusing on men's innerwear space, right? But eventually our journey we wanted to take in the direction of dominating the entire or disrupting the entire innerwear landscape in the country, including women's and kids. So, with that thought process, we wanted to have something quirky which kind of immediately incites some curiosity from a consumer standpoint, right? So, we thought, so at that point of time, we thought what could be the best possible name. And XYXX came around as something which is quirky because it kind of generates curiosity in the minds of a consumer. Secondly, XY is male chromosome, XX is female chromosome. So while we are currently only operating in the men's innerwear space, there's a thought that once we are able to scale this to a certain level, right, we'll also be getting into women's in the near future. So with that thought, we wanted to keep it a very open name as well as a very quirky name to generate curiosity.
So it's an open name and a quirky name both.
Yes.
So this takes me from the name to the product category, and that is the innerwear, a
Correct.
men's innerwear market. You started off as a men's innerwear product.
Correct. That's right.
What was the math behind getting into men's innerwear, and obviously what made you enter that? What was that aha moment?
Sure. So, so for that, let me first dissect how the innerwear landscape in India, or rather the men's innerscape landscape in India is currently there, or at that point of time in the year 2017 was when we were starting off, right? So, men's innerwear at that point of time was about a 10,000 to 12,000 crore market, right? Which was largely dominated by organized segment. About 70% of the market was organized, 30% was unorganized. Women's is almost 1.5 to 2 times the size at that point of time. It's about 66% women's and 33% men. That's how the innerwear space is. However, in women's, it's about 60% which is unorganized and 40% organized, right? So you would have seen traditionally a lot of new age brands getting into women's space because it is so unorganized, and therefore you would have seen likes of Zivame, Clovia, Pretty Secrets, a lot of those brands getting into the fray because the opportunity existed. So in case of men's, our thought process at that point of time was the market, how it was structured is you have a chunk of brands which are called as the mass brands, the likes of Lux, Rupa, etc., which cater to about 50% of the market at that point of time. And then you had a brand like Jockey, which was transcending right from the mass segment to the luxury segment. And it was a market leader. But other than Jockey, there was no clear number two in the market, right? And when you went into the market, you realized that everyone was selling the same cotton underwear, right? So we thought that definitely there is a reason for a new brand to exist, but it can't be following the footsteps of the incumbents, which is there, right? So if we are able to come up with a differentiated product, price it right in the market, right, and design it so well that the new age consumer is able to appreciate it, we'll be able to create a difference. So with that thought process, we said that let's kind of target the mid to premium segment, which is the so if the overall industry was going at about 8 to 10% at that point of time, the mid to premium and the luxury segment was growing much faster, at about 13 to 15%. So we said this is an opportunity for India that is coming, and therefore let's kind of do it. And with this thought process, we kind of started off. And in terms of a differentiated product at that point of time, we said ki micromodal as a fabric, right, is something which holds very good potential in the Indian market for two very key reasons. Number one, India is typically a very tropic climate, right? Prone to a lot of bacteria, fungus in that particular area, right? And number two, it is very hot in this country in general, right? And second is people in this country don't like polyester, right? So if we have a substitute fabric which is able to solve both these issues, right, and at the same time more comfortable to wear, then we have a right to win. So with that thought process, Yogesh, my other founder, kind of started off with micromodal innerwear. He initially made a few samples himself, right? Showed it to a few friends and who liked it. And then he said, let me start. So we had initially launched on marketplaces like this Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra. And from there, we got the initial feedback from the consumer as to once they bought us, how the product is, what do they like about the product. And then based on the feedback that we then got through subsequent sale, we realized that yes, this kind of a product has a very clear right to win in the market. And from there on, we doubled down, we improvised on the pricing, our positioning, our product portfolio, right? And so marketplaces is where we started off with, and then the channel choices as our journey proceeded, we kept on doing.
So you mentioned differentiation, you mentioned product, and you mentioned pricing. Now I want a little more insights on all the three.
Sure.
Product, you did mention about the
Sure.
kind of product that Yogesh and you started off with. So was the product quality a major differentiation, or how do you find a major differentiation edge over the competition? Because other brands are equally good as far as their products are concerned. Then we'll come to price later.
So if you look at men's innerwear as a category, right, people are very sticky. Like men in general are very sticky. If they like a brand, they don't want to change the brand, right? So our first thought process was how do we get the Indian men to change this or to switch to a new brand? Because everyone who is in the mid to premium segment swears by jockey कि हम jockey ही पहनेंगे, उसके अलावा they don't want to wear anything else, right? So we said, what do we have to do to beat such a large incumbent with such deep pockets and generating an 18 to 20% EBITDA year on year, right? So we said, we'll have to do something different. And with that thought process, it was a choice of fabric that we made, right? Which is the micromodal fabric. Micromodal fabric is 3 times softer than cotton, right? It is naturally antimicrobial, right? And based on these two properties, we thought that the Indian men would like this product, right? But that liking is not the only thing, right? Then we said design, right? From a design perspective, what do people want? People want whenever they are wearing something not to fidget around with their underwear, things like that. It needs to comfortably sit there. So we have to get the design right and the fit right of the product. So I think these are the two basic hygiene that we wanted to ensure we get right. Where we wanted to differentiate ourselves was in terms of our design. So if you look at even our basic innerwear to our more printed innerwear, you will see designs which are completely differentiated from the market. So we wanted, so typically innerwear is not something that people think about a lot. It's a very low involvement category per se. But we said that, okay, can we make it a high involvement category wherein like people would decide on the colors that they want to wear, the choice of prints to make their right from the inside to the outside, if it can communicate their personality. So I think that was one thing that we differentiated upon. Secondly, we said, why would someone try this product, right? If it is being offered at a price which is comparable to what the incumbent is offering in the market, right? So if jockey is ranging from 200 rupees to 400 or 500 rupees, we'll have to price it within this bucket. So we were able to give a superior product compared to a pure play cotton product that jockey was making, and kind of uh, price it at a similar level. There will be at least the chance that a customer tries it, right? And so our pricing is extremely sharp for a superior product when compared to a cotton product of a jockey, right? That was number two. Number three, what we said is choice of channel, right? We said that, okay, choice of channel is dependent upon how much capital you have and a lot of those things, right? So initially we were very clear that let's start with one channel, which is marketplace, right? At that point of time, I wouldn't call myself a D2C brand because our website sale was very small. And also innerwear is not something that is typically sold on a website, honestly, right? Because it's a low ASP product category. But marketplaces, the market was growing, the sales were growing, all brands were there. So we said, let's kind of be visible where the market is there, right? And kind of penetrating it is at the lowest cost to the business. So we said, chalo, let's go onto the marketplaces, and from there on. So I think largely differentiated product at a very sharp pricing compared to jockey. These two are very strong and a differentiated design. I think these are the 2 to 3 points which are very unique to us, which helped us kind of get that initial traction in the market.
So the formula for success in innerwear is like this way. If you can
Sure.
correct me if I'm wrong, and especially in your case, it was you give a better product than the incumbent
Yes,
at the same price.
correct. You can say same or similar price. Correct.
So I think can that sum it up the game?
Correct. Yes. In terms of our product, I think that can sum up the game.
Okay. And so I'm just thinking aloud, can the incumbent, obviously they can, but rise the bar, if they can raise the bar in terms of a better product quality and a slightly premium, price. So will that affect your sales?
If you really think about our industry, right, you have very sensible players in this particular market. Now, these players are generating very good gross margins with their cotton product. For them to venture into something like a modal and disrupt their existing supply chain and what the consumer is used to is not going to be easy for them, because at the end of the day, they would be cannibalizing their own sale for a higher, because at the end of the day, by offering this product at a affordable price to the consumer, if I would like to call it like that, right, does take away something from our gross margin, right? So I'm not sure whether the incumbents would be ready to do that because they are all listed companies and they are answerable to their share.
Absolutely. So the second question that comes up here is, how are you going to, so you said that the consumer doesn't change very fast, as far as inner product is concerned, but you have got a huge market, customer base and a decent market share as a startup, that's over the last 6-8 years, you have done fairly decent work.
Correct.
So these three things did make the consumer change and adopt XYXX, and
True.
that's where I'm just looking that for you or any such brands, to either you get the existing market share, or if the market is growing, then you get the market share from the growth in the market overall.
Yes. I think it's a combination of both, right? You would always be eating into someone's business, right? And as the category is growing, right, it is very important for a young brand to kind of do the to get the first set of consumers right, right? So if you are able to penetrate and get the first set of consumers, from there on you can iterate on it and then take it forward. And if you are only building a very luxury brand, or if the thought is like that, and you are not able to get the consumer trials, right, then you will not be able to innovate on it. So I think we started off with that thought process. And over a period of time, we have also increased our premium offerings, right? So it's not like we stuck to our basic price points, right? About 35 to 40% of our business is at a premium price point, right? And I think that helps us.
So Siddharth, you mentioned about the first initial set of customers,
Right.
For any startup, and it's a Herculean task to get the customers because you are a startup. How did you manage that? So can you throw some light on some of your marketing strategies that you adopted apart from the product part that you did clearly mention the differentiation part. What were the other marketing strategies that you adopted in the initial years and now?
So talking about marketing, I think marketing can be broadly split into two parts. One is performance marketing and second is brand marketing, right? Now, from an and third is like it falls under brand only, but it's creative, right? So we were very clear that from a creative output perspective, the brand needs to communicate premiumness, right? So that has been a very a baseline thing that we have always done in terms of our quality of listings, our shoots, our imagery, and everything that we have done. But in our initial space, we were very clear that we'll have to kind of set up a very strong performance marketing team internally, right? And the focus of that would be how can we win business across platforms, because it is not easy to with the amount of incumbents that are there in the market, it's not easy to get that first win or that first consumer, right? So initially for the first 6 months we were clearly figuring out the right strategy from a performance marketing lens, like what CPC to put, what kind of keywords to bid on, etc. Right? Whether Amazon is the right channel, or Flipkart is the right channel, or Myntra is the right channel. So it was a mix and match of everything, right? And then, but we were very clear that, and I also personally believe that performance marketing is very much required for a brand to scale up to a certain level. Only after that is when the brand can really kick in and start to throw some efficiencies. So for the first 100 crores of our journey, right, we have been heavily dominated with performance marketing, right? And we have very clear, and this is something that we have built in-house. We don't rely on an agency, we don't rely on anyone. Everything is in-house. We have a team of category managers and performance marketers who know how to run ads on the platform, right? How to launch a new product, how to scale a new product, how to scale an existing product, right? And so that is some expertise that we have built in-house, and we are quite proud of it. And I would and when I had joined, right, I think during the COVID period, right, I had joined just before COVID was about to hit the country, right? At that point of time, our businesses digitally were also quite small. Like we were not even doing less than a crore a month, much less than a crore a month, right? COVID also in a way helped us, right, in terms of improving our performance marketing efficiencies. And this is true for most D2C brands you would have seen. So initially for the first 3 years, it was figuring out which channel, which product, which keyword, which what CPC to get that first consumer trial. And then kind of taking out all the learnings from there. You can download reports, you can speak to the category teams, you have a marketing SPOC, and from there figuring out how exactly do you kind of do the next thing. And it was only after 2022 we said, "Ki chalo, let's now start to position the brand in a stronger way." And we onboarded KL Rahul as our brand ambassador. And that was the first time we went live with a brand campaign about 2 years back, right? And but for the first 5 to 6 years of our journey, it was purely performance marketing dominated.
Good, Siddharth. So performance marketing is the key in your case. Obviously, brand marketing is there, but the majority of the dollars were spent on the performance marketing. How did you scale up, and what were the supply chain issues that you had to face? How did you iron out those issues, Siddharth?
Sure. So when we started off, we were clear that we need to be where the consumer is, right? So most brands typically choose one channel to scale their business, right? When they were starting off. So while we started off with marketplace, immediately after 2 years, we said that we need to kind of be there in the MBO channel as well, where 95% of the sale happens for Innerwear. So we started building the general trade channel at that point of time, as well as we said that since we are a new age brand, we need to be actively listening to what our consumers are saying. And by that thought process, we also launched our D2C, which is our own website, right? So these three channels have been in existence for the past 5 to 6 years. Now, I think while most people will say, why did you do it to yourself at such a small scale to have three channels to run, right? But we'll say like it is our strength in a way, because there were times in the middle when, say, one channel went down, like, but the other channel was able to compensate for the business, right? So I think with that choice of strategy, it has helped us in our journey, and we don't have any regrets about it so far, right? Now, coming back to your thought process of how did we scale up the supply chain to marry, right? So we complicated our lives by choosing three channels, right? But what we realized over a period of time is that it's the same product which is selling in most channels, right? And how do we kind of figure out what are the hero products? We divided our products into core and non-core, right? Core products are the products which typically are working in two out of the three channels, right? And non-core are the ones which are either seasonal products or working in one channel, etc. Then we went about with the some historical data. We sat down with the category teams to figure out what should be the demand projections for it, right? Typically online you have a lot of sale events, but offline is a more steady kind of a business, right? We also then figured out what are the typical what occasions in which consumers shop and what products. Like boxers, typically people shop during the summer period, whereas thermals is something that they shop during the winter period, right? Innerwear is something that is sold around the year, right? So keeping that into account, we first made our demand planning very solid, right? And we didn't have very experienced or some people behind it. We typically had junior folks, but who were willing to kind of slog it out and figure out through iterations, reiterations to get this the demand planning right. We It's not that we got it 100% right, but that was a starting point. Yogesh, with his expertise on the supply chain at the back end, right, was able to figure out how to make sure that we are able to fill up the gaps on time, because you are never able to get the demand planning 100% accurately. So we kind of had, so our supply chain is completely outsourced, and it is a mix of vendors across Bombay, Ahmedabad, and Tirupur, right? As the channel scaled, as the business scaled up, we realized that this industry is largely operating out of Tirupur, right? For most brands, exports as well as domestic. So we said, how can we enter those big facilities so that our supply, our quality becomes consistent? So we were very clear from beginning that quality has to be top notch, because we used to deploy our own QC folks at every facility, right? All our tech packs, all our designing was done in-house, and then it was given to the vendors, right? So we were very clear that if we have to be successful in India, and Indian consumers, while they will be talking about price and all, but no one compromises on quality in India, right? And especially in the mid to premium segment. So getting the supply chain right was very important, right? Then Yogesh also hired someone from the industry who has helped scale up different verticals. So we were able to get those people early into our production in the supply chain vertical. And through them, we figured out the vendors, right? What products, like micromodal is a fabric which we typically source from Europe, right? Now, who are the vendors in India? How do we kind of build their capacity? How do we give them more accurate forecasting?
Hello. Paris?
Yes, sir. Continue.
No, I can't see Siddharth. Hello. Siddharth, the screen has stopped.
Hang हो गया शायद.
Can you see him?
Hang हो गया सर उनका.
Yeah, Siddharth. Okay.
Sorry, I think something went wrong. Okay, where did you lose me exactly?
You were telling about the sourcing from Europe.
Okay, yes. So the fabric that we typically source is at that point of time was micromodal, right? And there it was a very small business in India at that point of time. So it all started from firstly making the supply of micromodal more consistent by working with the local traders and manufacturers for this. right? Secondly, to diversify the risk by not having dependency on only one vendor to supply our products, but having it through multiple vendors, right? And that's how we have been able to ensure that as we scaled up, right, we are not able to get any supply chain bottlenecks, right, in terms of ensuring that the market continuously get our supply. Then the other aspects about working capital, etc., right, those are the other negotiations we did. We were very clear that it's a win-win opportunity, has to be a win-win opportunity for everyone involved. And it can't be that you take the vendors for a ride by not paying them. So Yogesh, in fact, is of the very firm belief that if you have a very strong supply chain at the back end, right, then you will be a very successful brand because this is what will ensure continuity and consistent quality to your business.
Excellent, Siddharth. Now tell us something about your operations in terms of where all is XYXX available online, offline. Throw some light on that also, please.
Sure. So we classify them as 5 channels internally, right? 3 channels are offline, and in fact 6 channels now. Quick commerce also coming in, so so I'll make it 6 channels. First channel is our general trade channel where we sell via distributors and retailers, right? You can say we are present across the country via general trade, right? We have about 150 distributors across different cities in the country. And we have a sales force team of about 120 odd people who typically go and get us business from different small outlets. Then second is our modern trade channel in offline, where we are present in Shopper Stop. We are present in Central at this point of time. And it's a small business for us, but it is very important from a branding standpoint, right? When people discover us there and they are ready to associate that, yes, this is a premium brand that is there and a challenger brand as well. Number three is an experiment that we did about 2 years back. Is it a EBO channel? So we launched about 5 EBOs about 2 years back. This was with two clear objectives and these EBOs typically you will have in mostly concentrated in West region only. So 3 in Bombay, 1 in Surat, and 1 in Indore. The thought process was very clear to kind of build the brand through these EBOs. Number one. Second, to test out our outerwear, because we started off as an innerwear brand. We wanted to experiment what works in outerwear to get that consumer feedback. So with that thought, we kind of ventured into EBO space as well. However, our 3 biggest channels are all digital, right? One of them is marketplace, where we sell on Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra. We would be number 2 in the category in Amazon after Jockey, right? Similarly on Flipkart as well, right? And this channel has been growing exceptionally well, and it's a profitable channel for us, right? Then we have our own D2C channel, right? D2C, we have been able to scale up quite successfully over the last 3 to 4 years, right? And from contributing about 2 to 3% to our business back in 2020, it contributes about 15% to our business at this point of time. So significant scale up we have been able to do. And the last channel which we recently launched is quick commerce. So we are already live on Blinkit. We are there on Zepto. And I would say that this is the fastest growing channel for us at this point of time.
And it's surprising, it's not a bread or a commodity which you have to consume immediately, but a product like innerwear. But how is the response for your product on quick commerce?
No, it's very, very encouraging. See, I think the whole point about this category is there are 2 things that drive purchase here. One is impulse, and second is the need, right? So typically, you would see this product in a modern trade environment kept near where the cash counter is, right? So towards the end of your shopping, you would say, ki, oh, I needed to buy 1 or 2 underwear. So immediately you saw it, you recall that there's a need for it and you bought it, kind of a thing, right? So, and typically that's how, and even on marketplaces, etc., you would see that if you are able to offer 1 day delivery or same day delivery, then the throughput of this category goes up because it's something that is required. It's required. It's not like a t-shirt, which is like, okay, I want to wear on this occasion, so I will purchase it later. So if it is required, it's required, and by the beauty of it, it is a good category for quick commerce. Because if you need something in quickly, say in 10 minutes, I think these are the platforms from where you can shop.
And just curious about the quick commerce bit, which markets would be quicker in adopting this kind of a product?
See, quick commerce is typically live in your metro and tier one cities only at this point of time, right? And it largely depends upon where the quick commerce player is strong. So if a Blinkit is strong in Delhi NCR market, you will see very good adoption of your category there. If a Zepto is stronger in West and South, you would see them behave better here. But largely, when it comes to e-commerce and both Q-commerce, Bangalore is one market where the adoption is the fastest, and I think followed by Delhi NCR.
So Siddharth, you mentioned, you had navigated so many challenges or hurdles, or the vision that you had, and how you navigated and made true, or you were able to succeed in creating the right kind of product that you wanted to, or let me put it, the brand that you wanted to create, and that is XYXX. What was the main challenge or major hurdle? Finance, supply chain, product, marketing, technology, XYZ. So if I have to ask you, obviously all of them are challenging. It's very easy to say or pick anyone. But still, if I insist you pick the most challenging one that you felt, what would it would be and why?
So I think, no, firstly, very good question, because I think a lot of founders kind of grapple with this. So when we were a small company, right, typically the founder has very strong control on things, right? And that's how it was between Yogesh and me. And as the business was expanding, we realized that we need to hire our number twos or one level below us, right? Now, it was our thought that whether should we go after pedigree, whether we should go after experience, what's the right mix of both that we need to look into people and hire, right? And we would have done crazy amount of interviews for that. And I think we spent a lot of our evenings interviewing people, figuring out, and you wouldn't believe that we also kind of discussed amongst ourselves what's the best way to go about it, right? And eventually, what we realized is that it's all about how much passion the person at the other end has to make a difference, right? Doesn't matter the pedigree, doesn't matter what. Obviously, experience helps, right? But अगर जज्बा है कुछ करने का अंदर, right? I think that's one key indicator for us to look into people, right? With that thought, we also realize that we need to hire young people, right? Because who need to be get going, right? And who need to be ready to face hurdles. ये नहीं कि बहाने बना रहे हैं or giving some sob stories like that. And these are the things we kind of used to discuss with them, not really have an interview, but just to get their mindset and to understand, right? And we were, I think, after multiple rounds, we were able to get the second set of people right. Another thing, what we did is we said that we will kind of give opportunity for people in our company to move across roles, right? To see how well they perform in different situations and circumstances. Secondly, give them an opportunity to grow up within the organization. So if you look at our general trade team, right, all our regional sales managers were hired into the company as area managers, and they eventually became regional managers. Our area managers currently are 40% of them are executives who were there with our company and then moved into an area manager, right? Lot of our executives in marketplace are now category managers, right? So people, by virtue of sticking with us, number one, by giving the opportunity to learn new things, right, and test their skill sets across different disciplines, different verticals, right? There were people who moved from e-commerce to website, then back to e-commerce, right? People who were hired to do a photo shoot are now being given an opportunity to build a brand and things like that, right, in the market. So we realized that we need to value people internally because they have experienced something that no other person outside could have experienced, right? And they have been able to successfully do it. So combination of two things: when hiring from outside, if required, look at how much excited or how much hunger that person has to build or scale something. And secondly, look internally and spot talent and nurture them and grow them. And that's how the two philosophies that way.
Excellent. This is a classic case study, in HR, XYXX. Outside look passion, inside look talent.
Correct.
And nurture the talent, and take them to the next leadership roles.
Perfect.
And the examples that you quoted, Siddharth, are truly, a testament to the fact that you guys honor talent, recognize talent, and reward them too.
Perfect.
So I think this is a classic HR case study. Happy to know that XYXX is, following this HR strategy.
Thank you. And we are quite proud of it, to be very honest.
With this, Siddharth, will come to the final round, and that is the rapid fire round. I'll be asking a couple of questions to you.
Perfect.
And then there'll be a final question. So what would be your expansion plans? How many stores do you plan to open in the next year or next 4-5 years?
So from an EBO standpoint, as of now, we'll firstly want to make the current set of stores unit economics positive, right? And then decide upon the subsequent plans. In terms of our multi-brand outlets, we are currently at about 20,000 stores. We would like to scale this up to about 50,000 stores in the next 5 years.
Good. What is one customer feedback that profoundly influenced your business decision?
I think if there is an issue with, so there was one feedback around one of our top selling products on Flipkart, wherein we were facing a lot of quality issues, right? But it was the top seller. So we were in two minds whether to take off that product or what to do with it. We eventually decided to take down that product and launch a better product in that regard. And the newer product is able to generate more business for us, right? So sometimes you might have to do things which are which would imply that it's a very tough or a risky decision to make. But if done in the right way, I think it will reap a lot of benefits for you.
If we have to select a brand ambassador for XYXX, who would he, as of now it would be he, would be?
See, I think when we selected KL Rahul, there was a very clear reason for selecting him, right? However, we always feel that the brand is bigger than an ambassador. So I think we will stick to that philosophy going forward.
Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, apart from the 50,000 MBOs that you spoke about?
Yeah, we want to touch the 500 crore revenue mark and eventually IPO this company. So next 5 years, the target is to make it 500 crores, EBITDA positive, and be IPO.
For budding entrepreneurs, Innerwear has been one of the most attractive or lucrative, categories for entrepreneurs to venture into. What would be your advice to a budding entrepreneur who wants to get into the Innerwear segment?
I think I'll go back to the first 2 points that I discussed, right? Number one, first is to get a differentiated product out there, right? Without that, it will be very difficult because there are now plentiful opportunities available for a consumer. Number two, get the consumer trials done. Unless you get consumer trials, then you will not be able to be successful in this domain.
Thanks, Siddharth. Thank you very much for sharing your views with us today. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Same here. Thank you so much. Lovely talking to you as well.